So the reception to my recent videos has been pretty spectacular. With how much attention they've been getting, I thought it was best to look back at them and address a few things. For the Spider-Man video, I'll mostly be reiterating stuff that I said in the pinned comment. I didn't mention stuff like the MJ missions outside of a quick blurb of text because I was focusing on Spider-Man's gameplay. But yeah, I don't like those missions, and I think that you should be able to skip them entirely on New Game Plus. I didn't mention the story at all because, again, I was focusing on Spider-Man's gameplay. I thought the story was pretty good for the most part. So long as they do something of comparable quality, I don't think I'll mind what they do in the sequel. I don't really know what they're gonna do, so I'm not really sure what to ask for or even what to expect. Really, the only thing I hope they don't do is make the story too similar to the first game. Miles Morales' game retreads some of the same ground, with the main antagonist being a tech-themed villain who was a friend turned enemy because they hated a rich CEO, which was fine since that was a smaller side game, but if they do it again, I'm gonna be upset. As far as the gameplay changes I did ask for, I do admit that most of them are minor, and there's a reason for that. I wanted to keep the changes and additions I proposed within the realm of possibility, so anything that seemed too big to change was left out. For example, I've seen a lot of people suggest that Insomniac should implement a separate advanced swing system that has far more manual control over Spider-Man, so people that would want that could have the option of using it over the standard swing system. This advanced swing system sounds like a good idea, so then why didn't I talk about it in my video? Simply put, it's way too much work to create an entirely different swing system with different physics, controls, and animations for a fraction of the game's user base. It sounds like a good idea, but I doubt it'll ever be implemented due to how difficult and time-consuming it would be. So suggesting improvements to how the current traversal system works instead seems like a far more logical option. Another thing is the game's difficulty. Spider-Man 2018 is very easy, and even on ultimate difficulty is not that hard of a game to get through. I haven't completed the Miles Morales game, but from the little I have played of it, I think that one's a walk in the park as well. So yeah, I'd like some kind of higher difficulty in the sequel, but I don't think they're going to make the game as a whole more difficult. The previous games were easy for a reason, so that they're accessible. Anyone and everyone can pick them up and play them. So asking for a complete overhaul of the difficulty for the sequel seems silly because of how unlikely that is to happen. At best, there will be another difficulty above Ultimate, and even then I doubt that'll happen. Since it is a live service game, not for much longer, there have been some additions to Avengers since I made my video. They fixed the issue of getting stun-locked by enemies, so combat is less frustrating. Congrats guys, only took 2 years to fix an issue that shouldn't have been there to start with, but hey, better late than never. There have been 2 new playable characters. Mighty Thor, who is literally just Thor. Like, one of her combo strings is different. She does a kick instead of a headbutt for one of the attacks. And her ultimate is different than Thor's, and by that I mean it's Hawkeye's ultimate. So yeah, Thor with some minor changes. Cool. Then there's Winter Soldier, who is a composite character comprised of stuff from Captain America, Black Widow, and allegedly Black Panther as well. I say allegedly because I do not want to boot up the game again just to check. I mean, it's Winter Soldier. He's just a guy with a gun. If I wanted to play as a guy with a gun, I could just play, oh, I don't know, any shooter game ever made. He does have some unique animations as well, but I just don't care. There have been some advancements in the game's narrative as well. Rescuing Nick Fury has been an ongoing plot thread since the first Hawkeye DLC, and last we saw him, he was stuck in the future. So how is this story resolved? Well, Fury shows up on the helicarrier one day, and that's it. His explanation is that the Avengers' conflict with Monica and the Cosmic Cube in the present somehow created an opening for him to escape, and that's all you're getting. There's a lot wrong with this that we could dig into, so let's do that. I have no idea what the time travel rules are in Avengers. Are we creating alternate timelines so that the actions in the past or present have no effect on the future because they're now split timelines? Or are we working with more traditional time travel rules where changes in the present immediately and directly affect the future? Again, I don't know what the rules are, and I sincerely doubt that the people working on Avengers do either, given Fury's incredibly vague explanation of how he escaped from the future. But okay, let's ignore all of that and treat the future not as a separate place in time, but instead as just a separate place. Now, let's assume that it makes sense that the actions of the Cosmic Cube in the present affect the Cosmic Cube holding Fury in the future. So something happens to it that weakens its power enough that Fury can get out of the time bubble. Okay, so he's out of the time bubble, great, but how does he get back to the present? The time bridges that the Avengers use to travel to the future are destroyed, right? So Somehow he's able to get back to the present, and once he does, he somehow manages to get himself onto the helicarrier mid-flight, it seems, without anyone noticing. Look, I know that he's Nick Fury, but come on, not even Batman could get away with this much nonsense. Fury's role in the helicarrier is to explain how the game functions. Avengers and its systems are actually pretty complicated. I didn't get into it much in my video because I don't really care, but upgrading gear and progressing through the post-campaign multiplayer is complicated and confusing. So to remedy this, Fury is here to explain things with a handful of tutorial videos that plainly lay out how everything works. If the game's systems are complex enough that you feel the need to implement something like this, then maybe simplify your game instead? I don't know, that's just me. He's also here to spoil the story. I went back and finished the campaign recently, and as soon as I did, Fury shows up on the helicarrier and starts expositing. Also, Kate Bishop and Hawkeye are there, despite the fact that I hadn't played their narrative operations yet. I saw a lot of newer players online complain that they had the story ruined for them by this inclusion, and I don't disagree with that. But personally, I feel like the narrative of this game is so bad that it doesn't really matter if it all gets spoiled. Outside of that, MODOK is back. He gets beat up again. Oh, and I guess Winter Soldier is there in a pod and they get him out. Cool. Something that happened at some point was that they actually removed most of the recolored suits. If you have them, then you can still use them, but they're unavailable for purchase. Apparently, the developer explanation was that they took out these recolors so that they could add them back in at a later date with some kind of reworked something. However, they have yet to be re-added. In this case, I think failing to add them back was actually intentional. When you really look at it, the costumes in Avengers aren't that bad. They're not good either, but it was really the recolors that became the main laughingstock for the game. So removing them might actually give newer players a better first impression when they look through the costume screen. Outside of that, I don't think Avengers has changed much since I discussed it. I think if anything, I was too forgiving in my video, and I really could have complained about things some more. A subject that I almost completely sidestepped was the issue of bugs and glitches. I didn't talk about them in the video much because I was trying to show that the game itself is poorly designed, and that even if the game did run perfectly with no hiccups at all, it would still be a poor experience. But man, is Avengers buggy. From what I understand, multiplayer is so unstable that completing the multiplayer-only raid is practically impossible for some people. There have been more bugs in the past, and while some have been fixed, it seems that every time they fix one thing, something else breaks. Aside from new bugs, the only thing they've been adding is new costumes, so speaking of. I got a lot of comments complaining that I only disliked many of Iron Man's costumes because they don't look like their comic book counterparts. This is a complicated issue to untangle, so here I go. I don't think the comic costumes in video games need to be one-to-one adaptations. But I do think they have to, 1, be faithful to the source material, and 2, look cool. In some cases, this can be the same issue, which is probably why it came off as if I only cared about accuracy to the comics. I'm sorry if I did a poor job articulating my points for each costume, and I will do better in the future. There have been some new costumes added and leaked for Iron Man, and the general consensus is that the costumes in Avengers have gotten better, so let's take a look at them. The Magic Modified suit is really good. It has a very distinct look, it's very faithful to its comic counterpart, and while I don't think I'd personally use it, I can't deny its quality. An easy 8 out of 10, though that number could be higher for other people depending on your preferences. The Cold Iron suit is kind of goofy looking to me. It's nearly identical to its original comic appearance, but I just don't vibe with it. I never even heard of this costume until it had been added to the game, so I have no previous connection to it. Also, I've seen some videos where it looks like the mask moves around like a face in-game. That's weird. Anyway, I'd say this one's like a 7 out of 10. The Sunny Day outfit for Iron Man is really creative. That's the only positive thing I can say about it. This suit shows off the Tony Stark character model a lot, but I think Tony looks really bad in this game, so I'm not a fan of it. Still, can't deny the effort that most likely went into making this. 7 out of 10. The Mark 7 is a suit from the first Avengers movie that catches Tony in the air after Loki threw him off Stark Tower. It looks just like it did in the movie. Good job, guys. 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, depends on my mood, really. I really like this one. The Infinity War suit. Not the biggest fan of this suit, but it still looks really good, so 8 out of 10. This is specifically from the moment Tony snaps at the end of Endgame. Having the Infinity Stones on the suit is cool, so I can see why people like this one a lot, but I don't. Any suit that makes me look at Tony's face is bad to me, so yeah, this is like an 8 out of 10. I personally wouldn't use it, but I can understand the people that think it's cool. The suit from Captain America Civil War. This one doesn't quite look right. I got a fantastic comment on my Iron Man video that noted how Iron Man's costumes in this game look weird because he's modeled like one solid piece, instead of several pieces of interlocking machinery. I think this issue is really prevalent in this costume, especially near the stomach area, where you can tell that it's all one piece. It's not bad looking, but it's a little odd. Still, like an 8 out of 10 though. The ANAD suit is one I'm not really fond of. I think it can look cool sometimes, but most of the time, I think it looks lame. That being said, this game's version of it doesn't quite look right to me. The first thing that sticks out is that the red and yellow are colored red and gold here. And before anyone says that the discrepancy is due to comics not being able to correctly depict the shine that gold makes, keep in mind that the Ultimate Iron Man suit was also colored red and yellow in the comics, and that's something this game actually got right. The other thing that throws me off is the way the metal looks. The metal on the suit looks kind of bulging, saggy. It doesn't look quite as compact and flat as the suit in the books, like the suit doesn't fit him properly. So I'd say this one's like a 7. Then there's the leaked ones. It's a silver Mark II from the first Iron Man movie. Not something I'd personally use since I tend to prefer the red and gold version, but it's still cool to have. 8 out of 10. They've gone and given nearly every MCU suit a helmetless option. That's cool for some of the other characters like Thor and Cap, but I don't dig it with Iron Man. Tony's face is so looking in this game. Now I have to be clear, it's not that he doesn't look like Robert Downey Jr. The problem is that A, he's not good looking, and B, he doesn't look like Tony Stark. I think a big reason people say that Iron Man has the best suits in this game is because, unlike the other characters, most of his suits completely cover his face. So this option to pay more for what is essentially a worse version of each of his suits is pretty funny to me, especially since there's already a much better helmetless version of the endgame suit. All of these are like a 5 or 6 out of 10. I will be making more videos talking about Avengers costumes. The next one will be on Captain America. After that, I'm not sure what hero I'll tackle next. Let me know in the comments who you want to see. I'll also be making more stuff not related to superheroes, so I hope you stick around for that too. I didn't ask for people to subscribe in my last few videos since I wasn't sure if I would make more, but now I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sticking around for a while, so subscribe, press the notification bell, all that, and see you next time.